Now it's time for the heart of the editing process. Here, we'll bring the footage to life with music transitions and adjustments that align with the client's brand. I'll show you how to set the pace, create smooth transitions, and add some basic color adjustments to keep everything looking great. To do this, I'm going to open up the project I did for the About video that introduces this community. Then if you want to go into more depth on how we edit and really get inside our heads while we are editing at Tyson Media, inside of Tyson Media Pro, we have a bunch of great editing tutorials for you to watch, where we go through these steps and more in real time while you watch us take a project from import to export.
Opening up the About video that we have on our school community, this is what our timeline will look like in the end after a project. So the initial cut is we want to add music to the timeline that complements the client's brand, tone, and message. So for me, obviously, this is for my company and brand. So the first step that I will do in any edit, I just wanted to show you something final and then kind of walk you through what I do in the editing process. And like I said in the introduction, we have a lot of tutorials of us editing all kinds of different videos so that you can see, but everything kind of falls in the same process, which is the initial cut, adding creative, and then color adjustments. So just going to quickly show you this version of a project. So if we go to, let's see, and you can see things are organized. If we go to the initial cut, what I like to do is I like to add music first. This is after I've gone through footage, which we've talked about in the past. So I'll go through all the footage and then I will lay it out on the timeline, all my favorite shots, whether it's a talking head or we're adding B-roll. We've gone through that. So now that I have that, I'm going to add the music. So I'm just going to find that song that I chose. So I'm going to add that song to the timeline. And typically, depending on how it starts is where I'll start that song. So when you look at this video, you've got it starting with me just, hey filmmakers, this like just right into this bubble, bubble, boom. And that's just because I wanted this to hit really hard right out of the gate. So when we come in here, you can tell there's nothing that's not how the song starts. I wanted this part to start right here. Okay, and then I end up manipulating it. But that's like my first moment. So as I get the music in, then I start adding in the talking head, basically to guide the pacing, and then adjusting the visuals to match the energy, beats, and transitions. So for example, when we came into here, I've got this. Hey filmmakers. And then as soon as I finish talking, we hit this beat. And then now that drives this da-da-da-da-da-da. And now, as soon as that ends, boom, we're now into this part. And it goes over a little bit just to make sure that we can fit in what I say with the pacing. And then I cut up the songs, I add in different moments just to make sure I'm telling the story the way I want to tell.
This is Tyson Henderson, aka Tyson Media. And if there's...
So then, I changed the song there. So we've got this. Yeah. And then I've added a little pacing there to match with the cuts. So I don't just start cutting the video this way. I literally lay the music down and I let the music drive the pacing and the energy. And then sometimes I'll have the music be the full length version. And then I'll be like, oh, that could be cool if that was just a little quicker or that came in sooner. So then I'm cutting up the music and I'm manipulating the music and I'm letting the music drive what's being said. So now we're into this longer dialogue here. So the music gets quieter. I don't want this to be that bangy section, right? So this is more the explanation comes in.
If there's one thing I've learned over my 20 years in the industry from working as an in-house videographer to running my...
But as you can see, the beats of the music are telling me what B-roll I need. So we've got this...
From working as an in-house videographer to running my own media agents and pretty much every niche in the...
So I'm not just adding those cuts. The music is telling me where to add the cuts, and I just listen to that and I listen to the pacing. And this is so crucial when we're editing. It's our style, it's our pacing. It's the hidden art when it comes to editing. It is if people notice it, then it's not good. If they don't notice it and they just feel it and they don't know why it's great, then it's a good video.
Is that true success isn't just about making great videos. It's about...
Boom, you hear that? So I got this.
Great videos. It's about
cut to me talking.
Finding a path in filmmaking that...
And then right as the music hits right there, boom.
It makes you have...
And I fade the music out. And then I added some sound effects to keep the sound going. And then right here, the music comes back.
Always wanted.
But it's like right as I hit, boom.
Now, I'll tell you right up front, this community isn't about the latest trend or how to create a beautiful shop or the ins and outs of editing. Sure, we should talk about
So driving the visuals.
those things if they come up, but the real focus here is on the
And then the music comes back. It goes quiet, comes back, different part of the song. As soon as the music hits hard, the transition of the text comes in.
The real focus here is on the philosophies of filmmaking, building meaningful relationships with clients and team members, and creating a truly fulfilling life in the industry. We are here to dive into the big questions. How do you manage a business?
And sometimes you're like, you know, we could
We're
add,
here to dive into the big questions.
but nothing happens there. Sometimes you just let some shots breathe out, but sometimes you hit the pacing, and it's all just about feeling it. And the more you do it, the better you get.
The big questions. How do you manage a business? How do you handle clients? And most importantly, how do you...
Because I could have easily added another cut there, but I wanted it to be similar to these shots. So it's like, boom.
How do you handle clients?
Boom.
And most importantly,
So you're kind of finding different beats of the music.
how do you do all of that while genuine?
And that's fun too, because like instead of a cut, the beat hits when he hits the chips.
How do you do all of that while
So that's intentional. And I don't know when to put that there unless I have the music.
genuinely enjoying the process? That is exactly why I'm watching this school community for free. Help filmmakers. Whether you're just getting started
Ooh, that was a little off. Putting my foot in my mouth. So if I really wanted to go back and make that a little bit different and actually try to get that to match up, but I think we're fine.
filmmakers, whether you're just getting started or
So it kind of
you're just
hits right there. So I'm a little late on this cut, unfortunately.
getting started or you're a pro, create a life where you can have it all. A meaningful career, financial freedom, quality time with family, and even a great lifestyle. In this community, I'll be sharing everything I've learned over the past 2 decades to help you grow a thriving, fulfilling filmmaking career. And I mean everything. We're talking hands-on advice about scaling your business, managing clients, building sustainable income, and achieving that harmony of work and life so you can enjoy the passion. Here's what you'll get if you join the community. First off, I'm giving...
So you get the idea. The song ends up playing out the rest of the way, and more often than not, the song ends up being like perfect. It's just interesting how it always happens. It'll just kind of fall in place. So like, for example, this song ends kind of hard here, but it's like at a good moment.
And doing what you love. So if you're
Moving on to a new point. So
ready to stop just dreaming about it, click the link, sign up for free, and let's make something truly special together. See you on the inside.
then music comes up. So then that's the end of the video. So anyway, that's the initial cut. Letting the music do the driving. That's just what I love to do. So now we're into the creative edit. So focus on bringing creativity, smooth transitions, and compelling narrative to the video. The editing style should reflect the client's brand aesthetic and previous content. So similar to the music, we have a lot of brand assets that come from each of the clients that we need to get familiar with. So we need to understand what videos they've already created, what they've had success with, and we need to emulate those. Because we're just going to we got to be on brand, right? When people see the videos, they want people to understand that those videos came from their brand and in their style. So we want to add in speed ramps like this moment right here, where it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
And over the past 2 decades to help you grow a thriving, fulfilling filmmaking.
So that's where we're going to be adding creativity. And that's like with the sound effects, that's with speed ramps. That's with different transition. Like this is a fun transition where it goes from in store to there. And that's just, a lot of that comes from creativity, and you're actually going to be pushing their brand to be creative. So you're going to be adding in moments that are really fun for the company that they're just going to like. And then if they don't like it, then you don't do it. You just move on and you try another thing later. And it's just, yeah, part of editing and building someone else's brand through video. Okay, and then the last thing is just going to be color adjustments. When it comes to color, I don't like to shoot and log. I don't like to have anything fancy. We have a set color profile for our Canons that look like this, and it's a good look. Like it's similar to what you'd see on your phone. Remove this. So when we turn that off, if it will turn off. Oh, it's the wrong clip. You can see, like, that's probably something you'd see come out of a phone. It's what you'd see in this webcam that you're watching me on. And then we just add a grade to it that just enhances it, right? So we've got a little bit of a look, and it's the look that I almost add to everything I do. And basically it just makes the blacks black, the highlights, the whites white. But essentially I can just walk you through kind of our basic color correction. And it starts with this, and we want to make sure obviously it's color corrected. I made this a little bit warmer. It took a little bit of green out of it, and the main reason for that is because in the A shot there's a lot more green. So you can see how this hasn't been touched and this has barely been touched. So I had to match this shot to that. So I ended up manipulating those a little bit, but I always add just a tiny bit of exposure, contrast. In fact, you can literally screenshot what I've got here and use it on your videos once you set your color profiles to the same. I mean, it's like, you might as well not even have a color profile. It's just very basic what we have. I'll take away the highlights, take away some shadows, add some whites, add some blacks, get into the creative. I add a tiny hint of blue to the shadows, and that is like almost unrecognizable. And we get into that more later, but then I always add a nice S curve. So when you look at this S curve, I keep looking at the wrong clips. Let's look at this creative one again to show you the blue. It's like nothing. Okay, and then we get into the curve. So this is where you add it. You really make the footage look rich by making the blacks black and the whites white. Then you get into manipulating the colors a little bit, which is always fun. And one of the things is I like to, like when you do the hue versus luma, I'm brightening my skin a little bit. So my face pops a little more. And then I like to change the blue hues just a tiny bit from blue to a little bit more teal. It's a little more cinematic, and it takes the purple out of it, which I love. And it just is complementary to skin tones. And I don't like yellows. I actually get rid of yellows a lot. It's just personal preference. So I'm just taking this hue saturation and dragging the yellows down. And then if we look at the wide shot, you can kind of see what I mean. When I turn off, you just see how there's like a lot of green and there's a lot of yellow. And when we get rid of that, it just looks so nice. All right, and then we get into here. This is where I add more of the blues to the shadows. So you've got blues in your shadows, and then your midtones and your highlights are a little more skin tones, right? And that's how you get that cinematic look. So you can see there's quite a lot of green in this red shot natively. And so this just makes it look better. And it takes the green out of my skin and adds a little blue to the shadows. And if we turn this one off and we look at this image, it makes a pretty big difference. And this is how we get closer to that image. So this is the look that I like to go for. So that's just that basic color. But if you look at our PDF, it's exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, whites, blacks, use an S curve. And that really is all I'll do. This is getting a little more technical down the road. But if I'm doing something quick, like a UGC edit, or I'm editing something for Honeylove, or a brand that's just supposed to be quick, that's not super stylized, or organic social media, right? It's exposure, contrast, highlights and shadows, whites and blacks, use an S curve to finish off the highlights. And then last point is I always use lumetri scopes. And that's going to tell you what you need to, how far you can push your blacks and your whites. So if you look at this, like you can see how it just spread away from the blacks and the top, and then if it curves will make it even more. So adding in these things makes your blacks black, your highlights highlighted, and then your skin tones are typically just right there at the top too, so they're not, but then you also have a lot of skin tones down here as well. It's also a good measure on color. So like this is the brightest image and it's red. If I was to come in here and make it more white, I would try to line up those colors because that's the white. So that's pure white. Only problem is it manipulates the color around it to be a little more green. So I ended up going with that look. So that is our quick editing and creative process.